They'll see me at this Dolphins game and traveling here and going to Germany and doing on the Around the Horn and all this cool shit. But like, very few of them were following me when I was covering like a hot air balloon festival in Lake Havasu City, when I was covering car accidents and Little League All-Star tournaments in the summer, when I'm standing there in 118-degree heat, taking photos of Little League games. Like, I have to have like a, today's News Herald newspaper badge on, because I want y'all to know I'm taking this for the newspaper. I'm not just out here photographing these games for fun. But like, nobody saw that. Nobody saw the, driving 3 hours through the middle of Texas to get to a basketball playoff game, the dirt roads I'd have to drive down on, and the 4 a.m. nights editing and putting the newspaper together on, Saturday night so that my Sunday wouldn't be, or Friday night so that my Saturday wouldn't be super busy. Like, nobody sees that. Like, that is the stuff that builds character. That makes you appreciate where you are now. Like, everybody wants to shine. Like, everybody wants to be on TV and cover the big games, go to the Super Bowl and this and that. But like, you got to be ready to cover, a high school game with 220 people in the stands and even fewer reading your story afterward. Like, you have to be ready and willing to do all that and cut your teeth there before you get to this stage. And I'll always appreciate that. I will appreciate that journey, because like, that's as hard as you will ever work.
Welcome to Pinnacle Code, where we spotlight excellence in the culture. I am your host, Ben Arthur. Excited to be joined by the homie Marcel. He covers the Miami Dolphins for ESPN's NFL Nation. He's been at ESPN since 2019?
2019, yeah. So this will be season 5.
Dang.
Oh, this will be season 6.
Oh, 6. Yeah, 6 for 2024. Yeah, that's crazy. Time flies. Yeah.
Fast, man.
Yeah, so right now he's covering the Dolphins for ESPN, but prior to that, covered the Bills as well for ESPN, and before that, the Carolina Panthers for the Charlotte Observer. So he's been covering the league for a minute, and as many of you listening will know, I cover the NFL as well, and so he's someone I've gotten to know a little bit over the years, and I think in our case, like, I think a lot of the younger Black NFL reporters in our space, like, try to keep tabs on each other and support each other. So I know this is a good brother. Marcel, thank you so much for joining the show. How's everything going in the off season to this point?
Of course, man. It's been great. The first week was a little rough. Was sick immediately after. I assume going to negative 20-degree temps from 80-degree temp is probably bad for your body.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's always weird. It's always weird. I was just texting somebody about this, that first like week or so of the off season, because there's no like ramp down period. You know what I mean? When the season starts, you kind of ramp up a little bit. You got, your OTAs, and then mini camp, and then training camp and preseason. And then obviously you're in the season, and like, but you're used to doing things by then. It's the complete opposite when the season ends. So yeah, they lose against Kansas City, locker room clean out is 2 days later with the GM and head coach and the season pressers. And then it's over, done. Like, there's no more going to the facility. There's no interviews. There's no press conferences. There's no locker room, no prep. Like, it's done. It's done. And so like, I'm sitting around here, like, you ever see that TV show, the Netflix show Narcos, when Pablo Escobar is like sitting around his complex, like staring off into oblivion? Like, that's how I kind of feel. Like, the first few days, it's like, man, I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with my time right now. But you always kind of find your groove, once the off-season events start happening. But I'm enjoying the quiet for now.
Yeah, no, that's what's up. And for a lot of you listening, like, who don't understand, like, when we're in the NFL season, it's so much of a routine, just like how it is for the players. And so when all of a sudden the season it's over, it's like, okay, like, what's about to go down? Because the off-season program, we kind of know what to expect, but as soon as the season is over, like, those first couple of weeks definitely take some time to get used to. And in my case, like, I'm trying to get used to it as well with all my teams out. But regardless, happy to have you on, Marcel. And I guess the first thing I wanted to ask you about, what was your name? And I wanted to make sure, like, I'm pronouncing it right. Is it Louis-Jacques or?
Yeah, Louis-Jacques.
Okay.
I say it with a little bit of culture. You say it with
Louis-Jacques.
With a little French nuance.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's a lifetime at this point. I'm 31. I'll be 32 this year. So it's a lifetime of people just Louis Jacques. And I was like, God, just ask. Like, I don't mind ever having to like explain or pronounce my last name to people. I appreciate like people asking. That means you respect me enough to get it right more
Fact.
than you like the ego of not wanting to look like you don't know. Like it's beautiful. It's
Exactly.
just beautiful. I appreciate that. Yeah. Louis-Jacques, the S's are silent. Say it like in French.
Yeah. So is what's kind of your family background then? What is that? Haitian? Is that, I mean,
Bingo.
you say French, but is your family Haitian? Like, what's kind
Oh
of the
yeah.
background there?
Don't get me
Okay.
wrong. Like my family is very much Haitian. My dad was born in Port-au-Prince, came over to Queens when he was 12, with
Mm.
his brothers and sisters. Eventually the Louis-Jacques kind of spread all over the US. We're still mostly out east. Although I do have some cousins, I think, in the suburbs of Miami or suburbs of Broward County. It's nice. So yeah, like I would have thought of all places, like Miami and South Florida would get my name right
Yeah,
time. You know what I mean? Like it's hella Haitian down here, man. So like I figured, like it was almost like a homecoming, even though this is very much not where I'm from. But yeah. I say French is just easier, for like the phonetic pronunciation. It's easier to say, yeah, the French way.
for
But
sure.
but actually, when I met David Tepper, because I covered the Panthers the year he bought the team, and I met David Tepper, and he asked me what my name was. I said Marcel Louis-Jacques, and he said, Marcel what? And I showed him my press badge, and I have a photo of this as well. Like it's on my Instagram of him like looking at the photo. He goes, "Oh, which which one of your parents is from Haiti?" I was like, "From Yeah, that was my dad, but I'm shocked. There's never been a person who's ever asked me that. Like, I was probably 25, 26 at the like, nobody's ever asked me that. He looks at me, he's like, I know shit, and walked away.
Wow.
And I was like, Chris Ben's a super villain, bro. Like, why'd you have to say it like that? But it was kind of cool. It was impressive, and it made me feel like, okay, like there are some people that get it.
No, that's really dope because I mean, obviously we know David Tepper has gotten a lot of heat for a lot of things, but the fact that like he kind of came out with that, like, like he really understood, that's super dope. Um,
It
so
started strong.
yeah, no, really strong start. And so is it just your dad that's from Haiti? What's your mom's background?
Yeah, my mom is from San Francisco,
Okay.
born and raised in the Bay Area. I think spent some time in like not Milpitas, Mill Valley, which is over near Sausalito.
Yeah, I've actually been there. I was
Uh,
there for a wedding
there we go.
last year. Yep.
I was like, it's kind of a deep cut. Like if you're not from or not familiar with it out there, it's the town and city area just across the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco. For everybody who's not necessarily who's not familiar, she used to live on Mount Tamalpais, which is the
Mm.
beautiful big mountain that you see in the photos behind the Golden Gate. If you Google Golden Gate Bridge, so she's Northern California, born and raised. And we eventually, I grew up in Sacramento, so not too far from where she grew up, about an hour and a half away.
Okay. And so I'm curious, like growing up in Sacramento, and then also the fact that you kind of have like this Haitian backstory, like it's part of your culture, your heritage. And so I'm wondering, like, how those two things, being from Sacramento and then also having that Haitian heritage, how did that maybe shape who you are today?
Yeah, it's interesting because like I don't speak Creole like I've always wanted to, but like growing up in California, Creole is not a prevalent language whatsoever. If I grew up down here and didn't speak Creole, then like, okay, I get it. Like y'all can roast me, but that's not what we did in California. We spoke Spanish in California. So I took Spanish from first grade to 10th grade.
Mm.
Once upon a time, I wouldn't say I was fluent, but I could go, if you drop me in Mexico, I could find my way out. I can get my way out. Like
Mm.
I spoke it enough and understood it enough. But like I said, our family kind of has spread out so much that, I wasn't around it as much as, I wasn't around it very much, just the language itself. Uh, so, my dad just taught me didn't teach me Creole, but, he taught me how to be a man anyways. They taught me, the core values that we preach, that his household preached, respecting your elders, steady preparation. It's actually kind of funny, he has no choice but to laugh about it at this point because, it all worked out. But I used to joke with my cousins that like, it felt like, man, bro, Haitian side of the family, like it almost felt like you guilty until proven innocent. And like you have not accomplished anything until you prove otherwise. So like until my dad was very hard on me, like very strict, throughout high school, throughout the first few years of college, really until I graduated and got a job. And then it's almost like the throttle, he let go of the throttle completely. Not like he stopped being a parent, but like he stopped really like harping on me so much once he saw like, okay, like he got there, he did it. I always thought it was funny because like as a kid, I was like, man, of course, like I'm going to do something. Like I'm not just going to like, I'm going to do something with my life. Like I'm not worried, but they're, parents, they're like, oh my God, he missed 4 homework assignments this semester. Like he's headed for unemployment and the street. He's going to be living on it was like this whole panic situation. I was like, oh, my bad, man. I just kind of forgot about it. But no, like I do appreciate, looking back, obviously it was strict, but like I'm a big believer in like our past shaping our present. So like if he didn't do those things and he wasn't that way, then I wouldn't be where I am today. And the same goes with my mom as well.
That's really dope that you say that because I feel like your upbringing was really similar to mine in that regard. I mean, I'm not Haitian, but my family is from Ghana, and my dad was kind of like the same way. Now that you said, like you said, your dad like started letting the foot off the throttle, like once you got out of college, and like I'm just now kind of realizing, yeah, it was kind of the same case in my situation. My dad was super hard on me growing up. Like you got to go to school, get an awesome job, be really focused. You got to be locked in. Like I came to this country, all that, and then kind of letting the foot off the gas as, and our conversations now are totally different from when I was growing up. So I just thought it was really interesting that you kind of said that. And so more so like on Sacramento, like I don't hear a lot of people say good things about Sacramento. Like people honestly, bro, people say like there isn't shit to do in Sacramento. So what's your response to people who say that? Because I can't really speak for Sacramento because I've never been there. So
Yeah.
what would you say to those who say that?
Like I'm gonna call bullshit because like, okay, yeah, there's not like, you can't go to the beach as I look out on the ocean here in South Florida. Like there's none of that, you're not, but like beyond that, it's just a normal city, man. Like it's just a normal city. They got all the amenities that you want. Like if you want to do a specific activity, you more than likely can find it. You want to be outdoors, like there's plenty of trails, there's plenty of nature preserves, there's 2 rivers. The mountains are nearby, the like Tahoe is nearby, San Francisco is nearby, LA is a drive. I wouldn't recommend all that. But like
Everything else.
everything else, like it's just a normal place. Now, granted, I've spent precious little time back in Sacramento since really I graduated high school. So that was, 2010. I've been back to Sacramento twice since my family moved out of town. And so it's one of those where like, when I go back home, it's not like I really got the car to drive down there and do all these bits. So I got a friend that, when back when my mom lived in California, when I was in town, he would try to drive up or he'd take the train up, Alan, my oldest friend, man, we met in pre-K. So I appreciate the effort that he always showed. But nah, man, Sacramento's a normal spot, bro. Like it's crazy to me. Like you get people shit on like, covering the NFL, like this. People will trash, Detroit. They will trash Cleveland.
Yep.
They will trash Buffalo, and they'll trash Pittsburgh and Green Bay, and like all these cities. Oh, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. You can find food in every city, and you can find a bar. You can find a this or that. Like it's not like they just sit on the sidewalk and like twiddle their thumbs. Like there is something to do in every single city. And Sacramento is a major. It's the capital of California. Like it's not like a a podunk town. I think like sports kind of warps our brains in that mind, right? Because we hear that term small market team
Yeah.
so often. And like Sacramento's not necessarily a small market. It's got like 400,000, 500,000 people live in the metro area. Like it's not a small market. Green Bay is a small market.
Yeah.
But like Sacramento's not a small market. It made me laugh when I moved to Texas in 2016. I had to drive through San Antonio to get there, right? And just kind of harping on the small market thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing you always hear about the Spurs, right? Like that's a small market franchise. Like it's an example of the small market team being a dynasty. Man, San Antonio ain't no damn small market. And if you've ever been to San Antonio, it's like like the 10th biggest city in the United States. Like over 1 million people live in that area. Like so, like I think the term small market really warps our brain. So like Sacramento is not San Antonio. It's not that big. It's not a small city. It's small enough. It's small enough. But I have not been there in a while. I'm gonna be back in June. I'm really excited to really explore the city. Hopefully the Kings are still playing because I need to go see a game in that new arena. But nah, man, I'm always gonna have Sacramento's back. That's nonsense. Nothing to do there, bro. You better find something to do. That's a you problem. You can't find something to do in Sacramento, man.
No, yeah, that's what's up. And love hearing that you want to get out to see a Kings game, because when you were growing up, like we're around the same age. Like when we were coming up there was like the Chris Webber era and like all that, but there are a lot of lean years for the Kings. Yeah, I see your face.
Yeah,
So,
I paid for it, bro. I paid for it. Like I was blessed during childhood. The Peja, Bibby, Weber, Divac, Christie, Bobby Jackson, Kevin, even like the Kevin Martin, Ron Artest era. It was like the last time they had made the playoffs before this past season. And I've seen a lot of trash. You could build like an all NBA Hall of Fame team of players that the Kings passed over in the draft. You know what I mean? Like passed on Steph, passed on Clay for Nick Stauskas, passed on Damian Lillard for, I think, Ben McLemore or Thomas Robinson, one of the two. I mean, shoot, we just passed on Luka for Marvin Bagley like 5 years ago. So it's not like those things are not still present. But, De'Aaron Fox was a great pick. Keegan Murray has been a great pick. I hated the Halliburton for Domas trade when it happened. And Halliburton, I think, is probably the better player, higher ceiling. But for what Sacramento needed, for what that team needed, I would say it was an even trade. Like it was an even trade. I look at that better than I look at the Bagley draft decision, like even in hindsight.
For sure. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. But I will say, be grateful that your city has a team, because I'm from Seattle. And so we had the Sonics, and then they were taken away from us. And now you look at the Thunder, how they're built now, like with SGA and Chet Holmgren, like it's like, dang, this could have been my team. But
I was about to say, we went through it with y'all a little bit, like, because
that's right. The whole Seattle Sacramento thing.
Not Clay Helton. I don't know. I forget it. Somebody's gonna know his name. I obviously kicked it out of my memory. But the dude was gonna buy the team and move them. And shout out Kevin Johnson for saving the day at the last second. Wherever he is. But that was a scary time for us, because you take the Kings out of Sacramento, then I'm gonna start to listen to people who say there's nothing there. Like that's. And like, all right, bro, I'm not happy about it, but I hear you now.
Facts. And so, Marcel, like, to kind of shift gears, like in terms of getting into the sports journalism business, at what point did you know that, all right, this is what I'm going to do? Like, this is what I'm going to do?
Yeah. So ironically, I was in Spanish class at Valley Christian Academy. I think it was 11th grade, 10th or 11th grade. And our teacher was also one of the basketball coaches. And I guess one day he was just like, look, man, like, I don't really have a lesson planned, so let's do something fun. And he played like an old, like, Bulls Celtics game, I think. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna play the fourth quarter for y'all. I'm gonna split you into two teams. Everybody write up like a couple paragraphs, just recapping what happened, and choose a winner. Then the two winners will read your article in front of the class, and whoever's got the better one there gets no homework for the rest of the week or something like that.
Mm.
I was like, okay, word. So, I was always a good writer, but like I was 16 at 15, 16, like I didn't know I was a good writer. I thought it was easy for me. So I thought it was easy for everybody. And, so I write it. They're like, okay, Marcel, you're just the winner. Plus I was always the guy, I was always reading like the sports section. I had the ESPN alerts on my phone back when there were text messages, man, like back before the real app existed. So like it was natural for me to do that. And I remember the other winner read their write up, and it was like they were using like onomatopoeia to describe the ball going in, and it's like swish 2 points, and I was like, oh, I got this. That's that's over. As soon as I heard her say bang, I was like, oh yeah, nah. Like bang works for one person and one person only, and it ain't you, and it ain't writing. And so after that, I was like, okay, I think this is probably my field. This is probably what I should be doing. I knew I wasn't going pro. I would have loved to play college football, but I was 5'11", maybe 165 coming out of school. And all I got were D3 offers and NAIA offers, and said, it's probably not worth it. Let me just retire. And, went up to Arizona State. I got in fairly early. I think late September, my senior year, I got the acceptance letter. And so like I was coasting basically throughout 12th grade. No stress. I was pretty sold that that's where I was going to go to school.
Okay. And now, obviously, you're at ESPN now. And so what is maybe one word, like if you had to pick one word to describe your journey to ESPN, what word would that be? And then why that word?
Character, because a lot of it was built. A lot of it was built during how many years was it? The 5 years it took me to get to ESPN, which like is a blessing in itself, right? Like if you graduate from college and you say, all right, in 5 years you're gonna work for ESPN, I'm like, hell yeah, I'll take that. I thought it was gonna take me 20, 30. Like there's people who, that's like the end of their career. That's the ESPN we came up on. Like they work for however many years at this newspaper and that newspaper and that platform. Like, so to get here in 5 years was it was a blessing, man. It was a blessing. But, that's what people see, like people will see who follow me now. They see, I live in Florida. They'll see me at this Dolphins game and traveling here and going to Germany and doing on around the horn and all this cool shit. But like very few of them were following me when I was covering like a hot air balloon festival in Lake Havasu City, when I was covering car accidents and Little League All-Star tournaments in the summer, when I'm standing there in 118-degree heat, taking photos of Little League games. Like I have to have like a big, Today's News Herald newspaper badge on, because I want y'all to know I'm taking this for the newspaper. I'm not just out here photographing these games for fun. But like nobody saw that. Nobody saw the, driving 3 hours through the middle of Texas to get to a basketball playoff game, the dirt roads I'd have to drive down on, and the 4 a.m. nights editing and putting the newspaper together on, Saturday night so that my Sunday wouldn't be, or Friday night so that my Saturday wouldn't be super busy. Like nobody sees that. Like that is the stuff that builds character. That makes you appreciate where you are now. Like getting food in the press box and, these comfortable seats and these automatic stat sites. They're nice, but like I came up on, I still probably have Word documents in my computer where I'm play by play, going through a football game, Brandon Palomar's 5-yard run to the, Medina Valley 24-yard line. And like, I'm compiling my stats by myself. Like I'm sitting on, I've sat on a water cooler in a plywood press box because there wasn't no seats. It was really only for coaches. And, I just so happened to squeeze my way in there. Like it took a lot of character to get to this point. It took a lot of character being built to get to this point. And, that's what I always try to tell people, who, I just talked to a kid the other day, a high school senior, wants to get into journalism or is interested, like everybody wants to shine. Like everybody wants to be on TV and cover the big games, go to the Super Bowl and this and that. But like, you got to be ready to cover, a high school game with 220 people in the stands and even fewer reading your story afterward. Like you have to be ready and willing to do all that and cut your teeth there before you get to this stage. And, I will always appreciate that. I will appreciate that journey because like, that's as hard as you will ever work, man. Covering high school sports, that is as hard as you will ever work. If you know, you know. Phew.
Yeah. Marcel, I love that you said that because I mean, I don't think I didn't have as many stops at like smaller, news publications as you, but I worked in Laredo, Texas, and you may know of it because you were kind of, I guess, in that part of Texas too. I mean, Laredo was 2 hours from San Antonio or whatever. And man, I busted my ass, man. Like I was covering there was this like women's football league that I covered, and it was like below semi-pro. It was like just these athletic women who just like I don't even remember the league, but I remember the team that was more specific to like my city, like what were they called? I don't remember the exact name, but man, they played at like regular like parks, and like I would have to like report and write game stories, and there were no like stats guys, and there were no even like they didn't even have like yard markers. I had to estimate like, okay, that was a 20-yard pass, that was a 15-yard pass. Like people really don't
You don't know, man. Like that's
you see that I'm at Fox now, but you don't understand like really kind of what it took. And but off of that and you kind of detailing your journey too, like what is the mindset that you had to have to like kind of get through all that? I mean, love of what you're doing plays a role, but like when you're up till 4 a.m. on some of those nights or covering certain events that you don't want to cover, like this isn't what I want to do. Like, what is it that kind of got you through some of those times to keep pushing forward?
I've always, like I was saying before, like I always loved being that person to like announce news, to like break news to people. Like even again, like in high school, I'm getting like the ESPN alerts on my what's it called? The Joy NV2, the little flip phone, the little sideways flip phone. Like I always loved being able to break that stuff to my friends and come to school, like having read the sports section and knowing like nobody else had. Like I loved being that source of information. And so like, that's where kind of the love of the actual job came from and is, still comes from. But like, I know a lot of people who either got out of journalism or who, not just didn't get out, but like stayed in one place and like couldn't get out, break back out of the like small town or like small paper type of market. And like, these are like great writers, great reporters. Like, and like, I started to realize it's probably gonna be a lot of luck. It's not just like, oh, if you work hard, you'll move up. Like there's a lot of luck involved, a lot of, right place, right time, sending in your application to the right publication at the right time on the right day, like all this. And I can remember a coworker, like I can remember a coworker celebrating their birthday at one of my first jobs. And he was something like 40 some odd years old. And it was like, that was like his 5th or 6th job was in this small town. And I just told myself like, like his journey is his journey. I don't want to disrespect it, but like, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this 6 times. Like I loved every experience I have had at every paper I've worked at, but I said, there's no way I am doing this 6 times. I'm moving to 6 of these towns. Like I am going to make it. Like I'm going to do it. I see examples of people, I went to college with Jordan Rodriguez, with Master Satisfaction. Like I've seen
Powerhouses.
I have seen people who I used to kick it with. I used to go to class with. I used to walk to class with. Like I live across the hall from, covering the league. I think Jordan was at Was covering like the Seattle Storm she covered like Penn State before going to Carolina. And then Master had covered, I think it was Minnesota, the Vikings before moving over to Washington for the Washington Post. I was like, I know I can be that good. It's like, I know I can do that. I just have to get there. I just have to get there. And so yeah, I just kind of put my head down for a few years, grinded, worked my entire ass off, and finally got blessed with an opportunity coming out of Seguin, Texas, to cover Clemson sports in South Carolina, like for a newspaper in South Carolina. And then from there, I was like, all right, now it's only a matter of time.
Mm. And so, Marcel, I want to unpack that more, because you mentioned how inaccurately, like how sometimes like kind of elevating in the business that we're in, there is a portion of luck that kind of plays into it, and right place, right time. And you kind of have to do the given stuff, like work hard. But to kind of dig deeper on that, what do you think are some of the specific things that you did to get yourself into a position where you could be lucky and to be in that right place, right time to start the ball rolling to get to an ESPN and whatnot? Like, what are some of those things that you think you did?
Like, so when I was at like Lake Havasu, I'm sure to this day you can search the Twitter archives or whatever and find my like live tweets and live analysis and breakdowns of every game. And like before the game, I used to pay a kid, so like, hey, I'll buy you a Gatorade or something if you just film this for me. And I would do my own stand-ups, like, okay, here's things to watch, here's my key to the game, here's my bold predictions. Like I would try to like get that on camera work right there, like at this little tiny Lake Havasu High School Knights game. I would treat it like I was covering the Dolphins. I would treat it like I was covering the Raiders, the Card, whatever. I treat it like a professional game. That way, like it wouldn't be such a foreign concept whenever I got to, the level that I'm at now. And it was like, part of it was because like sometimes it's hard to, especially with these small schools, it's hard to find stats, it's hard to find information. So I wanted to make sure that like anybody looking for Lake Havasu football information, Seguin football information, like they could find it, because my account is going to be full of it. Like it is going to have that. And like, I think, the kids appreciated that too, because it's like, if I'm tweeting out their stats, I'm tweeting out like Gabe Nierbus is on fire. Like his past 3 games, he's averaging blah, 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 blah points. This is this. Like, that's cool. Like you get to retweet that and like makes them feel like stars too. Like, so like, that's how my brand and like my personal brand would spread throughout, these school communities, and, from the students to the parents to the boosters and this and that. So it was like kind of like a meticulous process through those small ranks. And, man, I will never forget I think the single greatest piece of advice, or most helpful piece of advice, that I received was from Mike Persinger. He used to be the sports editor at the Charlotte Observer. And when I interviewed with him in 2018, he said, when you're searching for a story, like look for the little things in the crowd, like look for little details. If a player's saying hello to the same kid every Sunday before a game, look into that. Like there might be something there. Like if somebody just find something small, because you never know how big it can be. And like, I remember I went back to Clemson right after that, and Trevor Lawrence, back when he was a freshman, he had this sticker on the back of his phone. It just said love on it. And so like I pulled him aside afterwards and asked him, what is this from? He said it was a charity back in Cartersville. So I went and like, I wrote an entire story about his work with that charity and his work growing up in Cartersville. It won a big award, like it won a major award. And then like I paid it forward even more once I was in the Panthers locker room. Eric Reed, it was when I think it's probably like the last time that he played football, or one of the last times, but he got ejected from a game for a hit on Ben Roethlisberger. And after the game, every reporter is asking him about the hit, was it legal? What do you think? Should you been? And nobody asked him about like the drug test notice on his locker. And so I just like pulled him aside after and said, hey, like, is that normal, or has that been the new normal ever since you opened up this collusion suit? Like, is it happening any more frequently? And he was like, yeah, no, this is like the 5th time I've been tested in 6 weeks. And it sparked this entire story. It even inspired like an NFL investigation. I won an APSE award for it. And I think that's what helped me get on ESPN's radar as well. But like, just again, like part of that is paying attention to little details and then being just at the right place at the right time, recognizing when you're in the right place at the right time and doing the right thing in that moment. So, there's no promise that you're going to get that kind of opportunity, but you have to be able to recognize and capitalize when you do.
Yeah, no, Marcel, that's great. I hope the people who are listening really listen to what you just said, because I think number one, when you talked about like being in Arizona and like doing those stand-ups as if you were already on SportsCenter, like you have to start moving like the person you want to be, like not just focus maybe just on the job you have and just doing it and just getting it over with, but like what do you want to be, and start moving like that person you want to be. And then just in terms of being a journalist, like being observant, but also actually just applying the advice that you got from that editor from the Charlotte Observer, because I think a lot of times people will give advice, but I think in a lot of cases, like people don't really apply advice properly.
Right. Just listen, and it's like, okay, yeah, and like shake your head, but then don't really take it to heart. And,
exactly, bro.
I took that joint to heart.
Exactly.
I took it to heart. I wanted a job. I needed to get out of South Carolina at that point. Like I was like, I need this. I have to. I can't let this slip. And that thing. And even he was impressed. Like I sent him the Trevor Lawrence story afterward, and I think that helped kind of seal the deal of getting that job.
That's what's up. And so covering the NFL, Marcel, I'm curious, like what has been your experience being like a younger Black reporter covering the league, like from the beginning, like at the Charlotte Observer to now? What is maybe that experience been like for you? Because we both know, and people in general, sports fans will know, like this has been an industry historically dominated by like, kind of middle-aged white men or whatever. And it's nice to see more diversity and whatnot. But I'm just curious, like from your vantage point, what has been your experience as a young Black man covering the league?
Yeah, I mean, it was very helpful in say Buffalo, for instance, where I love that. I love the beat, the guys up there to death to this day. They're some of my great friends, but like they know there's diversity on that beat. Like, it's not their fault. It's not their problem, but like it is the rare circumstance where I think that actually works to my advantage, where I can go into a locker room full of people who look like me and I can see things from their perspective. Like sometimes, it doesn't make these people, the other reporters, it doesn't make them bad people. It doesn't make them ignorant or hateful people. It just means that like they don't see the world the same. Like I can remember Shaq Lawson. I forget who it was that they played. I think it was the Broncos, and he had 2 or 3 sacks on somebody who was jawing at him after the game. And Shaq, it was just like, I put 2 sacks on your head, no cap, check me. Like, but he was saying no cap a lot. I knew what that meant. But like in his scrum, the next week, somebody asked him, Shaq, what does no cap mean? And like he looked up at me, like we like locked eyes, and he just started laughing. He started laughing and smiling. Like that's the kind of like experience that I feel like I can have. Like I've sat down with Frank Gore in his locker, like because he had that trust in me, and that inherent trust in me, and I appreciated that. So like you can't always share your experiences with your fellow beat writers when they don't share those experiences with you. Like if that makes sense. Like you can't. Sometimes things would happen. I don't have specific examples in mind, but like sometimes things would happen in the world that like I knew, okay, like you guys don't. If we were to talk about this, it'd be a one-sided conversation. With all due respect, I knew it would be a one-sided conversation, and it's different in Miami because I think Miami it's maybe the most diverse beat in the NFL. Maybe it might get because I mean it's a little different down here. But Yeah, it definitely it has its benefits in the locker room, and let's be honest, like there aren't a whole lot of scenarios in life where you can say, yeah, the color of my skin, my race, like yeah, that is an advantage for me. That helps me out.
Mhm.
But like respect, it is what it is, man. Like I feel like journalism, sports journalism, there have been times where I think players probably have felt exploited or taken advantage of, or taken out of context, and this and that. And so, like, it's built. I think a lot of guys have a kind of natural distrust of the media in general, um, and being able to walk in there and again, like they see somebody, well, wow, like he's not that much older than me, looks like me, like maybe there's a chance here. Maybe there's a chance this guy is trustworthy, and then I can prove to him, like, yeah, I feel like I am. I conduct myself in a way that is trustworthy. So it helps. It helps, man. It helps. Um, I growing up in kind of suburbs of Sacramento, I was used to kind of being like the only black kid in my class, or one of two,
Bro,
one of three in
tell
my
me about
class
it.
anyway. So like
Same
it
thing.
didn't bother me when I got to say Charlotte, and there were a couple black TV reporters, but in terms of like full time writers, no, it was just me. So like it wasn't like oh my god, I'm so uncomfortable, I hate this. Like it's kind of part of the journey as you go along. You kind of learn how to assimilate when need be, and so just kind of assimilated. I feel like I can get along with any group of people.
Yeah.
It's not like I just like kept to myself. Oh, I don't trust these people over here. No, like it's not like that at all. But it is fun, like you said, it is a traditionally middle-aged white male dominated industry, but it is cool where like just to see how many young black men, young black women have entered this industry and really climbed the ladder in this industry over the past several years, to the point where like, bro, I don't know how many group chats you're in. I'm at least two or three
Yeah, me
chats
too.
full of black writers, black NFL writers specifically. And like, I know there's more beyond that. And so like, that's cool because when you see things like every combine, when you go to the NABJ dinner, and
Mhm.
you see these guys, like Clarence Hill and Calvin Watkins, and the guys who have been working to get Stephen Holder and Mike Well working together for so long. And it's like, damn, like that's going to be us in like 20 years, and we'll be passing
Exactly.
it down to the next generation. So like, it's cool. And it creates this, it creates this brotherhood that, I can't wait to continue exploring over the next 20, 30, however long my career, God bless, God willing, is.
For sure. Yeah, no, I love, all of that. And I think just for those who aren't journalists who are listening, just in terms of like what you said, like the importance of like just knowing that there are spaces where like being black is to our advantage, right? Like in our case, like being in an NFL locker room, being younger, black, same music interests, like cultural references that maybe our counterparts of other races don't understand. Like and this is just like in our NFL locker room standpoint, but I think there are a lot of spaces where it can play to our advantage and our perspective is valued in that regard. So I love that you said all that. So I guess for you though, Marcel, like what does Marcel Louis-Jacques want to become ultimately, like in this business? Are you already that person and just want to sustain, or what are you kind of striving toward?
That's such an interesting question, because like I feel like throughout my career, people have always asked like, also like, what's next, or what's your goal? What do you want to do? Like I wanted to do this. I wanted to be a beat writer for the longest time, and I've gotten a taste of what it's like to be, on television, and obviously I want to do more of that in my career as well. But I learned that having like having a just concrete goal in mind, and being like dead set on like, this is what I'm going to do, this is how it's going to be, you have to be fluid. You know what I mean? Like you can have like a rough estimate, like I want to work in the NFL. I want to get to this point. I want to do this. But like, you have to be open to other possibilities, right? Like, you have to be open to other avenues if it's the right choice at that time. So like, I'm not going to say like, oh, I want to be the next Stephen A. Smith, when like there could be a whole new avenue that I'm not even thinking of, or that might not be available to me right now, that opens up, that parts ways from Stephen A. and, big TV talking head analysts, multi-million-dollar analysts path that actually works out better for me. So like, I've always been fluid about where I want to be and what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't come to ESPN like, and all right, I want to move to Miami. Like, I want to be in Miami. I didn't care where I was. I just wanted to be at ESPN. I could have said no. When they offered me the Buffalo job, I could have said, no, I don't want to go to Buffalo. Like, I'm from Sacramento, California, man. I've never heard of Buffalo. Like, I've heard of Buffalo, but you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't point Buffalo out on a map when I was first offered the job, or like when I first started interviewing for the job. Matter of fact, I initially thought that it was, just outside of New York City. So I figured that was, how big can New York State be? Huge, man. New York State is huge. Buffalo was nowhere near. It was nowhere near New York City. It's on the other side of the state. And I said, like, I wanted to get to ESPN. It doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter how. I'll take this job. And it was the best possible experience for me, because like, first of all, like, I love that city, no matter how much those fans, think I hate them, and how much some of them do legitimately piss me off on the internet. But like, I love that city. It treated me well. Good people, good food, like good size. Like, I really, if it didn't snow in Buffalo, I don't know. I don't know, how long I would have lived there, but I think it would be a perfect city for just my personality. I just don't like cleaning snow off my car in May. I think that's disrespectful. But, but you know what I mean? Like, never was my goal to be the Buffalo Bills beat writer growing up, but I value that experience. I value it and cherish it, because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about this job. I learned how to do it at a high level, and, I wouldn't be the same person without that. It wasn't the same for me when I was covering the Panthers versus when I covered the Bills. It was such a night and day difference. Like, that's just kind of one example of like, yeah, you never know where these avenues will take you. And then ultimately, of course, that, doing my job there led to this job down here in Miami, which has allowed me to, do a lot more television and do things like Around the Horn, and, I covered Lionel Messi's, first games in the MLS, and obviously met my fiance down here too, which is like, probably should have said that first. Haley, if you look at this, no,
shout out to Haley.
About you the whole time. I was just saving the best for last. But, you know what I mean? Like, things like that. Like, it's never part of the plan. But if you just go with the flow, like, my contract wasn't up when they asked if I wanted to come down here. It was just a new opportunity. I figured it would be what's best for my career, and I think it's proven to be. So like, I don't necessarily have. I say all that to say, like, I don't have this ultimate goal of like, this is exactly what I want to do, and this is where I want to do it, and who will want to do it for it. But like, I am enjoying the fact that I've gotten to the point I've gotten to, and this landscape's obviously always changing. So I keep my mind open to change with it, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And I think kind of your perspective is similar to my own, because I think when I got to a point where I realized like I'm doing this journalism thing, it became like ESPN was the goal. But then as I got into it, it was more of like the work I'm doing, right? It's not about working for a particular destination at a particular time. It became more about the work and what I felt fulfilled doing, and just knowing kind of how our business is continuing to evolve, and how that would also kind of inform where I go. And that, I think that kind of leads me to this question, because we both, Marcel, we both know what's going on, bro. Like with this industry, with mass layoffs, we saw what happened at the LA Times, We saw, I mean, Business Insider, Sports Illustrated, it kind of goes on and on. And so for the younger people coming up, younger black folk, whatever, what would you tell them about maybe the mindset required or the perspective that they should have entering this business?
It's tough, man. It's tough because it wasn't great. The layout or the landscape wasn't great when we first got in, and I'm sure it seems so diluted now since there's so many sites and blogs and this and that and podcast. Like everybody, there's just like an abundance of information that it's almost hard to like monetize and make a career out of any of them. But I would say refuse to refuse to believe that you are not going to be successful. Like, don't consider that as an option. You know what I mean? Like, remember I told you earlier in the conversation, like my dad seemingly felt like, oh, okay, like you're making decisions that you're going to, you're going to flunk out of school. You're not going to go to college. You're not going to do that. I never considered that even an option in my head. Like, it was so foreign of a concept, not graduating, not going to college, not graduating, not getting a job. Like, it just wasn't even a possibility to me. And like the same thing goes for my journalism career. Like, not, working in, with all due respect, working in Lake Havasu for the rest of my life was like it was not an option. Like, working in small town tech, it was my means to an end, but that was not my end. And it in no way, shape or form was going to be. And so that's what I would say. Like, if you want to get to a certain level, if you want to climb, then like, it's almost like, The Dark Knight Rises, right? When it's been like 10 years. Like, I don't care if you haven't seen it by now, like whatever.
Yeah, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. Like, when Bruce is trying to jump out of the pit and, the blind guy was like, you got to do it without a rope, man. You got to do it without that safety net. Like, you kind of just have to like keep going. You keep climbing and don't look down. Like, getting off the ladder is not an option. Falling and getting caught by the rope is not an option. Like, the only option is up and out. So, it sounds corny, it sounds cliche, but like, there's no secret formula to this. You got to do the work. You got to do the work. Also, the people who are making hiring decisions, and to this day, at least for another generation, a few generations, they got where they're at the same route that you and I did, like they did the small town, the small papers, and maybe worked their way up to a bigger paper and finally got to the big organization. Like, they appreciate and they can relate to that journey. When you come, that was one thing, everybody I talked to at ESPN said was like, I love the fact that you have editorial experience at these small papers. Like, I love the fact that you were able to cut your teeth in these markets and work your way up and grind your way to the top. So like, again, do not shy away from that. I've talked to so many people who, like, I can see it in their face when I mention, going to real small markets, not Sacramento small markets.
Yeah.
I'm talking 25,000 population markets. You know what I mean? Where you have, I think in Seguin, we had a Walmart and an HEB, and that was it. Like, that was it. That was nothing to do town, man. That is sit by the river and drink beer. That's what you do. Like, those kind of markets. I see so many people like their shoulders drop, or like head hangs, or like they roll their eyes, or one of those, like, it goes in and one out the other. Mm-hmm. Like, but like, don't shy away from that. There is still value in going that route. Hopefully those small papers can continue to survive. I know some of them are hanging by a thread, but like, small towns, small communities, like, they will always value their newspaper. They will always value their local news. And there's always going to be a place for that. So do not be afraid to cut your teeth there. You are just going to be poor while you do it. Like that, I cannot help you there. Like, you're going to have to tighten your belt a little bit. You're going to have to tighten your belt a little bit. But like I said, you get into that. And if you don't love it, you don't love it, man. But if you love this, then just, you keep going. Like, it's not really, you love it. You love journalism. You love this. Not doing it is not an option. You know what I'm saying? Giving up is not really, it's not something that you comprehend because you love it. So keep your head up. Man. Keep y'all safe.
Yep. That's facts, straight facts. Winding down here, Marcel, where can people find you on social media if they want to keep a tab on your journey, whether it's covering the Dolphins or just kind of what you're up to? Like where should people like find you at?
Yeah, on X, Twitter/X. It's
Still weird.
At Marcel_LJ. Instagram, it's at Marcel ESPN, and the same goes on Threads as well. I'm trying to use Threads. I've
It's
tried
still new
throughout the season. It's tough. I don't know how big the market is per se, but I usually try to keep it to that. I'm on TikTok as well, but I don't know if I'm worth following on TikTok quite yet. I usually I just use that for like FIFA tips and as a search engine and whatnot. Like it's a lot. Like this is the oldest that I feel when I get on TikTok and try to create like my first reel, my first video. I was like, man, like this is real editing. Like y'all are working to do this. This is not like a casual bop on the phone. Let me take all these clips and put them together. Like there's transitions, there's effects, there's green screens, there's a text overlay and lower there. I was like, wow, this is a lot to do from a smartphone. I don't think I have the brain power to do all that. I don't think I'm gonna let y'all have that. That's my jumping off moment. You know what I mean? Like when our parents were like, all right, Facebook is as far as I'm going, man. Like I'm not doing anything else. Like now I feel that Twitter and Instagram, once those die, I don't know what's next, man. I don't know what's next.
No, I feel that, bro. I feel that. Last one for you. What does Black success mean to you?
What does Black success mean to me? How do I answer this without sounding corny? Like I love to see a group of people who has been marginalized and oppressed for so long find its place and find its success and fight tooth and nail for its place in this world. Considering where we have come, considering how difficult it is, and considering even the challenges that we faced in the 2010s, the racism we faced in the 2010s, and there is in Lake Havasu, I had parents calling me the colored guy, the colored reporter. That was 2014, 2015, man.
That's crazy.
Or 2015, 2016. That was not it's still very real. Like that's maybe the downside of working in small towns, like as a Black reporter, is like sometimes it can be challenging. Sometimes you're gonna meet things like that. A guy called me LeBron not because I was good at basketball, because he legit thought that was my name. Like he just thought of the first Black man he could think of. He's like, it's like LeBron or something like that, right? Nuts. What the f are you talking about, man? But
that's insane.
So like it's fun to see. And then like again, my journey has been, and I'm saying this objectively, my journey myself has been impressive enough. Like I'm impressed with myself from where I started to where I am now. And while like being here, seeing guys like you, like everybody in that group chat, that 30-person group chat that we're in, like, and knowing like everybody has that similar journey, like it just instills this sense of pride, the sense of community and pride, and sharing that and watching your brothers, watching your friends climb this ladder and watching everybody's success and really feeling it yourself, like feeling that joy as if it was your own. Like that's what it means to me, man. Like that's what I think Black success means to me.
Love it, bro. Well, that'll pretty much do it, guys, from this episode of Pinnacle Code. Really appreciate Marcel and his perspective and his wisdom. Hope you guys really take the time to simmer on some of the things he said, because even if you're not a journalist like us two, I think there is a lot of wisdom that could be applied to several facets of life. But please be sure to continue to support the show. I really appreciate all the support and the love. But you can find the show, of course, on YouTube as it is now, but Instagram, X, TikTok. I'm on all the social platforms. So please be sure to, continue to look out, turn your notifications on, because this is going to keep going, every week. So appreciate you guys. But until next time, I'll see you guys soon. All right. Peace out. Appreciate you, Marcel.
Yes, sir.